Hello everyone. Since today was the Queen stage of this year's Tour de France with over 5,000 metres of climbing, we thought we'd do an extra little show analysing all the main points from the stage and also talking a little bit about what happened yesterday with the disqualification of Luke Rowe and Tony Martin.
Oh yes, now if you haven't seen today's stage already, which, let it be said, was absolutely amazing, then you must watch the highlights. We've got them each and every day on this very channel, GCN Racing. In fact, we'll give you a moment to leave this video before we otherwise spoil the result for you.
Right, so today's stage was won from a breakaway and it was won by Nairo Quintana in quite emphatic fashion, in fact. He, in the end, would put 1 minute and 35 seconds into Romain Bardet. Alexei Lutsenko of Team Astana was almost a further minute back. Another great ride by Leonard Kamner in 4th place on the day, Damiano Caruso in 5th. Those all from the breakaway, and a separate battle in the GC behind, which we'll get onto fairly shortly. First things first then, is Nairo Quintana back to his best?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that was his 3rd career stage win at the Tour de France, wasn't it? Perhaps the most interesting part of his victory, other than just looking at the sheer supremacy of it, was the fact that he put 1 minute and 30 into the GC group on that last climb as well. So when he went, he was going faster than anyone in the entire bike race, which you don't often see from a breakaway, do you?
No, but that's what we expected to see from him a few years ago.
Well,
we all would have thought that by now, Nairo Quintana would have at least one Tour de France crown under his belt, and it hasn't happened. And I have to say, when he did go on the Galibier today, he looked every bit the champion that we'd been expecting a few years ago.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable acceleration, and he didn't really slow down. As you said, 90 seconds over the group of GC riders in the last few kilometres of the Galibier. That was some performance today.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Everyone always talks about how Nairo Quintana starts coming into form during the 3rd week of the Tour de France. Now, you'd think then that you'd be able to do something in your training to make you come good perhaps in the 2nd week of the Tour de France. Maybe he starts racing a week earlier, just like rides around northern France really fast.
Does a load of crits.
Well, exactly, yeah. But put into context, in that 2nd week, he lost basically 9 minutes, didn't he? So lost roughly 3 minutes per stage in the Pyrenean Mountains, and then 2 minutes in that short time trial. So I don't know, was he
That's
ill?
11. But anyway, I see what you mean.
No, it's not.
Oh, there's only 2 stages in the Pyrenees.
Yeah,
All right,
was,
I
yeah.
get what you mean. But yeah, he was 9 minutes down, but he's now clawed his way back up to 7th, I think, in the overall
Yeah, he has,
classification,
yeah.
ahead of his teammate Mikel Landa. I think he does look towards his best again, but if he is, he wants to make the most of it before he moves to Arkea Samsic next year, because I have a feeling once he's there, he will not be at his best anymore.
No, that's true. And also, it's got to be said that whereas today he was let off the leash because he was so far down on GC, tomorrow he is not that far down on GC.
No.
Now, what is he, 4 minutes back? So he's not going to get the same free rein. To try and bring back 2 minutes on successive mountain stages would be superhuman, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So it's unlikely he's going to be able to do it. But
also, I haven't looked at the team's classification, but I presume there's celebration all round for Movistar because they've probably taken it back from Trek Segafredo today.
Yes.
Right, what else should we talk about? Romain Bardet, 2nd on the stage, hugely disappointed, really, wasn't he? He could see how frustrated he was behind with Alexei Lutsenko, but actually, had it been a 20-second or 10-second deficit, he would have every right to be frustrated. But 1.5 minutes or more, actually, almost 2 minutes by the top of the climb, there was nothing he could do about that.
Well, he did look devastated. He looked desperate, but I think that's because he's learnt from the school of Thomas Voeckler. You see it with all the top French riders. I mean, this current generation, super talented, you know, within a shot of winning the whole race, but they still like to put on a bit of a show, don't they? I'm sure there's an element of like, you know what? If I look really disappointed, then everyone will be like, oh, bravo, Romain, that was a great effort.
You're right, actually. They do bob around a lot and show a lot of grimaces.
Pinot?
Yeah.
Yeah, Alaphilippe. He's cool as a cucumber until he's under pressure, and then he likes to put on a bit of a show. David Gaudu, he does as well.
Yeah.
I mean, none of them have got a patch on Thomas Voeckler himself, but still.
Yeah, but did Voeckler learn from Richard Virenque?
Wow.
Who stars in some terrible Festina adverts that you can see during Eurosport's coverage. I like the bit where he's in his kit and he holds his stomach in near the start. That's what I have to do these days. There was a consolation prize for Romain Bardet in coming second today because he'd amassed enough points in the King of the Mountains competition to overhaul Tim Wellens. He now sits on top of that by 12 points, and given that he's still 24 minutes down, he will be let up the road in the coming days, so that could be his next big goal.
Yeah, I think that'd be a nice consolation for him, wouldn't it, really? Like polka dot jersey in the Tour de France is a big deal.
It is. and it would seem quite fitting on his shoulders, I have to say.
Yeah, it would.
Right, let's talk about the general classification now, because still at the top of that is Julian Alaphilippe.
Still at the top of it.
With 2 mountain stages still to go. Who could have thought that just a couple of weeks ago? Nobody. I don't think even Alaphilippe himself thought he would be in this position. He did show signs of weakness just towards the top of the Galibier. I think he was 30 seconds down on that lead on the GC group as he went over the top. But then he did what he does best, showed panache, didn't he? What a descent that was.
Absolutely. How cool was it to not only make up that 30 seconds on the descent as if it was nothing, as soon as you catch onto the group, he then just cruised straight to the front and started chasing Bernal.
Yeah, here I am, guys. I'm back and I'm about to go off the front.
Yeah.
He must have loved the fact that Pinot was on the front. He thought, I'm definitely going to carve out a gap at this point. But can he do it now?
Well, I mean, tomorrow is a very different stage. So today finished with that descent, so he's obviously able to make up his 30 seconds. Tomorrow you've got a climb that's like the Galibier, but even bigger, so the Col de Liseran. And then he's got descent, but then there's a 7k climb at 7.5% to get up to Tignes. So if he does start to falter on that penultimate climb, then you'd think that he would come properly unstuck to Tignes. But
I'm still convinced he's going to crack. I said to you in the office this morning, didn't I, that I think he's going to finish outside the top 10 overall. I think he probably will finish in the top 10, but I'm still expecting him to lose a whole chunk of time either tomorrow or on Saturday's stage. To me, it's just a matter of time before he cracks big time. And I think with the energy he's used today and the fatigue he'll be experiencing tomorrow, it could be then.
Yeah, it's true. But he's been confounding his critics on a daily basis, hasn't he?
Exactly.
And the poor chap got woken up at 6:30 this morning. We had had a dope control. 6:30 a.m. along with Geraint Thomas.
Different rooms.
Yes, I believe so. Interestingly, just as an aside, Jumbo-Visma had a call from the dope control on their team bus an hour before the start. Not seen that before, so good to see that, you know, the dope testers kind of thinking outside the box. I don't know why, but anyway.
Also, you saw, because I showed you, Alaphilippe got a sneaky little push up the final climb. When we first saw it, we thought it was just a fan that was getting a bit sort of over-enthusiastic, but in the replay, you could see it was actually a helper from De Koning Quickstep that was getting a bit overexcited.
Former helper.
You can imagine the management, they must have been going mad. Right, on to the rest of the general classification. Ineos now in 2nd and 3rd. It's Bernal who's in 2nd, the young Colombian superstar, 22 years of age, only in his 2nd Tour de France. He's got ahead of Geraint Thomas. Now, as I said before, Geraint said that the plan at the top of the climb was because the pace wasn't quite high enough, they'd send Bernal up the road, hope that it ignited the race and a reaction from his GC rivals. It didn't, and so in the end, the person that tried to chase down Bernal was Geraint Thomas himself. Yeah,
with the benefit of hindsight, it sounds like a solid plan that just didn't quite go to plan, but in the moment it looked really bad, didn't it? You know, Geraint Thomas there literally trying to chase down his teammate and towing that group of favourites with him. But it does look a little bit like perhaps Geraint hasn't got the snap and the pace of Bernal in these high mountains. And so if you're Dave Brailsford looking to make a call, what do? You've got 2 guys who are separated by 5 seconds on GC, 2nd and 3rd, which is effectively meaningless to someone like Team Ineos with their track record as Team Sky. So what do you do, mate?
Well, I think they've got to go for Bernal. Not only because I tipped him for the win in our GCN Tour de France preview show a few weeks ago, but he was clearly head and shoulders above the rest on that climb today, out of the GC contenders. And I think the fact that they're up at these high altitudes now, tomorrow, as you said, the highest point of the race, 2,770 metres above sea level, you'd imagine he's going to come into his own, and I think he's their best chance of overhauling Alaphilippe.
Yeah.
He's climbing better than Geraint, and there's no more time trials, so you've got to go for Bernal, surely.
That's true, but in order to crack Alaphilippe then, what are they going to have to do tomorrow? Are they going to have to go early?
Well, they normally have to ride as Team Sky always do, but they don't seem to be able to here. They can't set a high enough pace. That, in part, along with Quintana performing incredibly well today, was why he took a minute and a half out of them on that final climb. They don't seem to have the climbing personnel that they've had in years gone by, so that could be a factor. He might have to go on the penultimate climb.
Well, and let it be said today that Bernal's descent was as impressive as Alaphilippe's, wasn't it? Because he crested that final climb with a 30-second gap, and he finished the bottom of the descent with a 30-second gap, despite Alaphilippe chasing him down.
Very true. Just behind the 2 Ineos riders though on GC now is Steven Kruijswijk. Now, I think that Jumbo-Visma were probably riding for a podium place. I think they would have been satisfied with that, in contrast to Ineos, who only really want to take the win. But they're not on the podium now. Steven
No.
Kruijswijk's now in 4th place overall, so they're going to have to change tack too.
Well, unless they gamble on the fact that Ineos will go all in for either Bernal or Geraint, and then they'll be like, it'll be fine. One of them will have to crack, and then Kruijswijk can just get through. They did also have a bit of a scare today because George Bennett crashed, didn't
Twice he did, yeah.
Yeah, so apparently he didn't go in the ambulance at the end of the stage, so he just went on the team bus. So hopefully, touch wood, he's all right. But he's a key man for Kruijswijk. He still had strength in depth on the Galibier, didn't he?
Yeah, Laurens de Plus, next Belgian Grand Tour winner, in my opinion. He's a fantastic rider. In other little bits, Pino said that he didn't have the legs to follow Egan Bernal when he went today, which was reasonably obvious, but said he also struggled to keep up with Geraint Thomas, not quite on the form that he had in the Pyrenees. And another minor bit of news, Niels Pollitt today became the first rider at this year's Tour, according to Le Tour data, run by NTT and Dimension Data on Twitter, to go over 100 k's per hour on a descent.
Wow.
Pretty fast.
Fair play, Niels Pollitt, yeah.
Right, well that's all the analysis for today's stage, but we're going to talk a little bit now about what happened yesterday. Luke Rowe and Tony Martin having a bit of a come together over the course of probably about 5 kilometres. It resulted in them both being disqualified after the UCI commissaires used VAR, should I say, to go over the footage. Now, I tweeted last night saying that it was a good thing that they got those 2 riders together, Martin and Rowe, for a video. They apologised to the teams, they apologised to the fans on the side of the road. They said they know they'd done wrong, but that they'd also said sorry to each other on the run into the finish. And I said I felt like that should have been taken into account by the UCI commissaires and perhaps an appeal might be successful. But when he came in this morning, you said you disagreed with that. I'm inclined to agree with you now, having thought about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because it's one of those things that does happen in bike races at all levels, and it's not good. But then you have to think, well, at the very top level where it couldn't be more visible, you know, they really should probably have a moment where they just think this isn't the right time to ride in that super aggressive manner, because you do set an example, not just to, you know, the rest of the peloton at the Tour de France or the rest of World Tour pros, but every cyclist out there. Well, Tony Martin and Luke Rowe do that, so it's kind of okay, because it is super sketchy. I mean, Martin nearly flicked Rowe into the spectators, and then did Rowe punch him in the face on the way back? I don't know. It looked a bit.
I don't know if it was a punch, but he certainly had his fist on Tony Martin's cheek. But it's like you said, it's the impressionable people that are watching. I mean, Hank watching that might try and run us off the road now. He's quite impressionable, isn't he?
Well, exactly. So yeah, as harsh as it is, those guys, you know, they're incredibly well-paid professional people, and they probably should have a moment where they think this is not the best thing to do, even though I'm really hot, really tired.
Yeah.
You know, it's a tough one, but
I would agree with you now. When I was thinking about it last night, like you, I was thinking it does happen quite a lot. In fact, Tony Martin did exactly the same thing to me back at the Tour of Britain. Breaking news, back at the Tour of Britain, probably 2009 or 2010.
Did you on the like Luke Rowe?
No, he's quite a lot bigger than me. I was like, sorry, Tony. I just left it at that.
Oh, I got in your way.
I never did it again. But it does happen quite a lot, and normally, of course, people don't see it. It's not on live television. No. But the Tour de France is shown live for its entirety these days, isn't it? And you can't really get away with that now.
Yeah, it's just interestingly, there's an awful lot of conspiracy theories out there, aren't there, about like, the French wanted Rowe and Martin to be disqualified in order to help Alaphilippe. So just to set the record straight, the people that did choose to disqualify Luke Rowe and Tony Martin, the chief of the jury panel is an Italian.
Oh, you've written it down?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I wasn't going to remember it. The rest of the jury is made up of a Canadian, a Spaniard, a Belgian, and one Frenchman.
Oh, I bet it was his choice.
Yeah, so there we go. It sounds a bit like a bad joke, doesn't it? But no, and that's how all race juries are made up, isn't it? Of like multiple nationalities. There's no kind of like, you know.
Well, I think, you know, a lot of people assume that it's the race organisation that make the rules up and enforce them, but it's not. It's always the UCI, the governing body of our sport, that send commissars there to make sure that the rules are adhered to, and they set the penalties too. Right then, that's all for today's stage. We're going to have a quick look forward to tomorrow's. That's why we've got this roadbook open on the tomorrow stage instead. As we mentioned, the Col de l'Isère goes at 2,770 metres above sea level. There are a total of 5 categorised climbs on the day, but when you look at that profile, it's basically all uphill for the first 89 kilometres, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah, which is quite grim. It's a short stage, 126.5 Ks, which when we were talking about a similar length stage last year, we got super excited. So potentially it could be quite explosive. There is then a relatively lengthy descent off the Isère before that final climb up to Tignes. So it's teed up for another absolute nail biter, isn't it?
Prediction?
Bernal.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go for the same person.
Oh my word.
First time ever that's happened. Let us know who you think's going to win stage 19 in the comment section down below. And also, let us know if you've enjoyed our analysis in the comment section below, because if you have, we might consider doing it more for the Welter.
Yeah, we've enjoyed doing it.
Time. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Now, in the meantime, if you haven't yet watched today's video over on GCN, which is all about stage 20, the penultimate of this year's Tour de France, you'll be able to find that just down here.
Also, sorry Dan, Chris Opie previews stage 20, so not tomorrow but the day after.
That's what I just said.
Did you?
Yeah, anyway.
Sorry, I was thinking about my beer,
If you've enjoyed this analysis, let us know down below.
Did you literally just say that?
Yeah, stage 20, the penultimate of this year.